They told us never to enter the forest, not because of wild animals, not because of ghosts, but because the forest doesn't kill you. It takes something far worse. It takes your memories. When my brother and I were kids, we lived in a village that sat right on the edge of those woods. Every parent warned their children never go in, but no one ever explained why. Sometimes at night, you could hear voices calling from the trees, familiar voices like your mother or father. But when you looked outside, no one was there. I always questioned why. Why did they warn us so strongly? What was inside that forest? Was it dangerous? Or were the adults hiding something? I longed to discover the truth, but my parents always shut down when I asked. Don't talk about this. Don't think about it. It's not our story. As the years passed, the questions only grew louder in my mind. Then one day, when I was about 15, I found an old photo of my family and me standing in front of the woods. I don't know how I felt looking at that picture. There was just a huge gaping hole where a memory should have been. Looking at that picture, I felt a connection to something I had never known. The older I got, the more I wanted answers. So one autumn evening, my brother and I decided to break the rule once and for all and step inside. We knew we shouldn't do it. We knew that if we entered the Whisper Woods, we may not come back the same. But we also knew that nothing out there could be worse than the suffocating fear of what might be. So with flashlights in hand, we stepped over the threshold. The air inside felt strangely heavy. It was hard to breathe. Each tree seemed to press closer, their leaves whispering secrets in the wind. To keep from getting lost, we tied red ribbons to the branches. There would be a trail, a way to find our way back. At first it seemed fine. We walked on, deep into the woods. Then my brother stopped suddenly. "What's my name?" he asked. I laughed, thinking he was joking. He always did stuff like that. But then his face fell and I saw the confusion there. "What's your name?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Still, I told him, "It's Simon." "Simon," he repeated. "Is that my name?" "Yes, it is." But he shook his head as if he couldn't grasp it. And I thought it was just part of the game. But as we kept walking, it became clear that he really had no idea, and I started to get scared. Then it happened again. "How old am I?" he asked. "You're 13, I said. "Am I 13? "Yes, you are." But again he looked away as if trying to reach a forgotten memory. And yet another piece of him seemed to snap away. "Where are we going?" he asked next. And I knew that he wasn't asking about our location, but something far deeper, something within him that had become lost. I continued walking without answering. I didn't want to admit it, but I didn't know where we were going either. We walked until the sky turned black and the forest took on a darker tone. All around us, the trees closed in, their branches intertwined, forming a thick canopy overhead. Their leaves rustled incessantly, and we could swear we heard voices calling out from the shadows. Then I noticed something terrible. The ribbons we tied were gone. The trail that was supposed to lead us back out had vanished. Panic swelled inside me. "We have to turn back," I said, my voice tight with fear. But my brother shook his head, his eyes blank. "I don't know where we're going," he whispered, and I knew he meant more than just our physical location. Desperation lent us speed, and we pushed forward. Suddenly the trees began to thin. Light filtered through the canopy, illuminating a path ahead. We broke into a clearing and gasped. In the center stood a massive oak tree. Its roots spread out across the ground like grasping claws, and its branches twisted toward the sky. The bark shimmered with an eerie glow, as if it were breathing. Etched into its trunk were thousands of names. As we stared, a cold dread washed over us. They were our names. And then we heard a voice, soft yet clear. My mother's voice. "Don't forget me," she whispered. "Don't forget me." Her words echoed around us, each syllable resonating deep within our bones. Then we knew the truth. This was the heart of the Whisperwood, the source of the strange occurrences that plagued the villagers. It was a place where memories were forgotten, where loved ones were left behind, and where people went to die. We tried to run, but our feet were rooted to the spot. We couldn't move, couldn't speak, and as we struggled in vain to break free, the forest whispered, and the voices grew louder. It was the voice of our grandmother, calling us from beyond the grave. The voice of our neighbor, begging for help. The voice of my mother, pleading for her child. The forest was alive, feeding on our memories. Terror gripped me as I watched my brother. His eyes, once filled with life, now flickered with confusion. He didn't recognize me, didn't remember our childhood games or the day we lost our dog. He didn't even know our parents' names. He looked at the tree, his gaze fixed on our names, and whispered, "Who are these people? Who are they?" I wanted to tell him, but I couldn't, because as I looked around, I realized that I didn't remember either. My brother looked at me, his eyes full of fear. He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. I could see the terror in his eyes, the dawning realization that he was losing me, too, and in that moment, I knew I had to escape before it was too late. I ran, stumbling over roots and rocks, desperate to flee the suffocating grip of the Whisperwood. Behind me, I heard my brother's cries, his pleas for help, and I wanted to turn back, to hold him, to tell him everything would be all right. But I forced myself forward. As I burst out of the trees, gasping for breath, I knew I had escaped with only seconds to spare. The forest loomed behind me, silent and menacing, as if regaining its breath, preparing for its next victim. I stumbled back to the village, broken and confused. People rushed to help, asking where I had been, what had happened. I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came out. They looked at me with concern, but I couldn't explain. I didn't know what had happened to me. I didn't know where my brother was or if he would ever find his way out. Even now, years later, I can feel the forest pulling pieces of me away, little by little, memory by memory. Sometimes when the wind blows at night, I hear him calling from the trees, but when I turn around, there's nothing there. They say the whisperwood claims one soul every year, and my brother's name has been added to the list. Someday, I fear, I too, will forget. I hope that's not the case. I really hope that's not the case.